The Artifacts of Mount Independence and the Stories They Tell. A series of brief explorations of Revolutionary War artifacts from Mount Independence on Lake Champlain in Orwell, Vermont.
Greetings and welcome to Mount Independence, Vermont State Historic Site located in Orwell, Vermont. I'm Paul Andriscin, one of the site interpreters here, and today we are going to talk about foodways. And this is a foodway that is not listed on one of the lists of food that was rationed out to the soldiers that were here. But Kenneth Roberts, in his book Rabble in Arms, has a chapter dedicated to this particular phenomenon, which was common throughout the Northeast in North America during the colonial period and for years afterwards. And of course, I'm talking about the passenger pigeon. It is amazing when you read this and read other excerpts about this bird, is there was some 5 billion passenger pigeons in North America during the colonial period. And John J. Audubon, the famous naturalist, mentions seeing these birds going over, and I'm not exaggerating, for 3 days in one flock. Roberts mentions in his book, and this is focusing in on Mount Independence, where his characters begin to hear these birds miles away as they're coming in, landing on the trees, bending the boughs to the point where the tree boughs are breaking. Again, these birds are passenger pigeons. They're about the size of a mourning dove, although they're not related. They're not closely related to the mourning dove at all. It's a special subspecies. According to Roberts, these men loaded birdshot into their muskets and began shooting into the trees. And within a half an hour to 45 minutes, they had a pile of birds up to their shoulders. These birds were packed and given to different regiments throughout the area. And this phenomenon kept going on for days on end until everybody was eating passenger pigeons. Now, the bones I have here, this one I am positive is not a pigeon bone at all. It is not a chicken bone. It appears to be a long femur from a wading type of bird, such as a solitary sandpiper or something similar to that. I'm sure it is not. And it is very white, as is this, the other two here, these two here. This is a thigh bone from what is most likely a passenger pigeon. It is too small to be a chicken bone. It is too big to be from, say, a chickadee or something like that. It is just about pigeon-sized. It is darker, which means this was most likely thrown on top of a fire, perhaps broiled or something like that. Whereas these others were put into a pot and most likely made into some sort of a super stew. Roberts goes on to mention in his book that one of the things that the men did was put a layer of beans and water into their pot, put the birds on the top, put the lid on, and make a bean and passenger pigeon pot pie stew. And I believe firmly that most of these small thigh bones that we have here, including this little piece of pelvis that I'm not even going to try to pick up, is from passenger pigeons. Now, that being said, I haven't done any DNA on this, obviously. There is a move to bring the passenger pigeon back. The passenger pigeon was one of the more important food sources. It was mentioned in another source that I had that a British regiment actually lived on passenger pigeons for a few, perhaps a week or so, because they were available and everybody knew they were coming. And again, that's it on the passenger pigeon. Thank you very much.